How's everybody doing? It's good to be with you again. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. This is Steve Livingston, and I'm here to do another video blog with you. Today, I want to talk about overcoming adversity. Too simple to be true? Adversity basically kind of visits everyone in life, and no one is immune. But what is essential, I think, is our attitude in facing adversity and experience. It's that we learn from them. Adversity, if it's handled right, will and can help to refine our very souls. Now, most people are going to have difficulty with the question I'm going to ask next, and I don't ask it very often of people because they have such a difficult time with it. The question is, where's your heart? If your heart's not in the right place, adversity could be basically the tipping point for you in your life. And we live in a day that I call the battle of the heart. So, where is your heart? Is it humble? Is it soft? Is it pliable? And how do you know whether your heart is soft and pliable? Well, ask yourself this question: am I willing to receive feedback? And maybe more importantly, do you seek feedback? Um, Now, if someone questions where your heart is at, do you feel judged? Well, let's talk a little bit. What happens to a person if their heart isn't in the right place? Well, from my experience, they blame, they point the finger at someone or something else, and they basically kind of give their agency to choose how they will respond to that person or thing. Interesting enough, there's some difficult trends we're facing. I think we're facing today, and these trends will destroy and basically debilitate someone. Well, what are these trends? Well, we tend to criticize, to complain, to blame, and slowly but surely to abandon the positives and adopt the negatives of life. Other negative trends also make adversity even more difficult. These negative characteristics of people are basically to be found everywhere. They're pretty pervasive, and they don't know any boundaries across the world, in my opinion. So let me identify some of the things that make adversity even worse. One is selfishness. Another, in my opinion, is greed. Another is indulgence. Along with indulgence, we tend to criticize, to complain, to blame, and slowly but surely to abandon the positives and adopt the negatives of life. So I'm too young for this, but do you remember this popular refrain from the 1940s? It kind of captures the thought, right? Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mister In Between. Well, that song by Johnny Mercer kind of tells us what we should do. So, step number one in getting your heart in the right place and overcoming adversity is an attitude of gratitude. We live in one of the greatest times to be alive, literally. While there may be some difficult things, there's a whole lot to be grateful for. And what should you start with? You should start with the people in your life. Primarily God, and then your mother and your father, your brothers and sisters, your friends, your husband, your wife, your children. What would life be without them? Now, I've experienced the death of a parent. Some of you have experienced the death of a parent, and others have not. I treasure the experiences and the teachings of my mother. I remember one day I decided I was going to be disobedient to my parents and follow my brother down the 2 mile steep hill that we lived at the top of. And he asked me or told me I could come with him to his baseball practice. And so my parents told me no. I hid out in the garage and I followed behind him. Problem was, I never did make it to his practice. As I started down the hill, my bike got going so fast down the hill, I couldn't keep my legs moving fast enough to stay on the pedals. So I did what any little kid would do. I took them off. A few seconds later, the handlebars began to shake, and then the bars turned, and I tumbled several times, basically over the pavement. And there, basically, I laid in a bloody mess. Bike on top of me, entangled with me, and then all of a sudden, here came my mom. She had gotten an impression to get in the car and come down the hill, not even knowing why. She found me, picked me up, put my bike in the car, and took me home. Not a word about my disobedience. She just loved me. So, step number one, an attitude of gratitude. You should make it a daily habit of sharing somehow in a journal or with others what you are grateful for. Now, step number 2 in overcoming adversity, service. Let me just be really, really clear about this one. Those who suffer great adversity and sorrow and go on to serve their fellow men develop a great capacity to understand others. I have long carried a mental picture from 6 years ago of my mom. It was at the end of 7 years of battling cancer. I went to see her, and while I was walking in the door, she was walking out the door. She was sicker than I'd ever seen her. And yet at that time all she was focused on was making sure that this family that was in need would have dinner that night. Let me tell you another story I heard recently. And I hope you'll forgive me if you're not a religious person, but I would like to be true to the words of this person, and I'll say it in her own words. Amy Wright, I believe Amy Wright came to understand the principle of serving others to overcome adversity. This is what Amy wrote. On October 29th, 2015, I found out I had cancer. My cancer has a 17% survival rate. The odds weren't good. I knew that I would be for the fight of my life. I was determined to give it everything. I had not just for myself, but more importantly for my family. In December, I began chemo. I was familiar with many of the side effects of cancer fighting drugs, but I did not know that it was possible for someone to be so sick and still be alive. At one point, I declared chemotherapy a human rights violation. I told my husband that I was done. I quit. I was not going back to the hospital. In his wisdom, my sweetheart patiently listened and then responded, "Well, then we need to find someone to serve." What? Did he miss the fact that his wife had cancer and couldn't take one more bout of nausea or one more moment of excruciating pain? Amy goes on to explain. My symptoms gradually worsened to where I generally had 1 or 2 okay days a month when I could somewhat function as a living, breathing human being. It was those days when our family would find ways to serve. One of those days, Amy's family distributed chemo comfort kits to other patients, kits filled with items to cheer and to help relieve symptoms. When Amy couldn't sleep, she would think of ways to brighten someone else's day. Some ways were big, but many were just small notes or text messages of encouragement and love. Amy said this: service saved my life. Where I ultimately found my strength to keep moving forward was the happiness I discovered in trying to relieve the suffering of those around me. I looked forward to our service projects with great joy and anticipation. Still to this day, like such a strange paradox, you would think that someone who was bald, poisoned, and fighting for her life was justified in thinking that right now it's all about me. However, when I thought about myself, this is Amy, my situation, my suffering, and pain, the world became very dark and depressing. When my focus turned to others, there was light, hope, strength, courage, and joy. I know that this is possible because of the sustaining and healing power, and in her words, the enabling power of the atonement of Jesus Christ. Now, I finished by recapping our blog today. Gratitude and service overcome adversity. It may seem too simple, but why don't you try it and see what happens? If you're going through adversity, count your many blessings and then go serve. I know these principles will transform your life. They've transformed mine. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, everybody, just hope you're enjoying the day-to-day of video blogs. Just wanted to invite you, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, go out to Facebook to the Livingstone Life and like my page, follow me, and I'll be posting things all the time, at least 2 to 3 times a week. Also, if you want some of the previous articles that I've written and video blogged about, go out to StephenLivingston.org and you can find out all the material there. Anyway, it's been good to have you, and I hope that you'll follow me and look forward also to my podcast that is going to be beginning called Slipstream. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you later.